Hello and welcome to a Remnant 2 build video. Today we're doing a lightweight melee build. I've spent most of the weekend messing with this thing. I've been doing all kinds of variations on it, doing different kind of flavors to it while all kind of trying to stick to lightweight melee damage. It's been really painful. It's been very painful. Is it any good? Probably not. So, I mean, we're playing on Apocalypse. That's part of the reason. If you're doing it on a lower difficulty, you're going to have a lot more success. Because the problem is, when you're running lightweight, with my setup right now, I have 36% damage reduction, which is not a lot. I take a lot of damage when I get hit. So, obviously, the idea would be like, well, just don't get hit. I'm only so good. I'm okay. I think I'm pretty decent at the game. But I make mistakes, which is why I typically like to run pretty burly type of setups, because I make mistakes. So if you're playing on Apocalypse and you're really good at the game and you're very comfortable doing something like this, and yeah, it's going to work pretty okay for you. On any lower difficulties, especially if you're doing like Veteran, I'm sure it's Veteran and Survivor, I'm sure it's like absolutely okay, no issues there. Nightmare, you could probably do reasonable there. It's a little bit more wiggle room, but meh. So to make this build work, there's really only 3 things that you need. 1 is a melee weapon, because it's a melee build. 2 is a light encumbrance load. You can do this by wearing light armor or just nothing at all, because if you're wearing nothing, your encumbrance is 0. And then the third piece is a ring that you can get from Root Earth. I don't remember exactly where. You're just going to have to look online. Sorry. I'm kind of lazy, bro. But it's the Flyweight Sting. Increases melee damage by while your armor's encumbrance is below 50. The damage bonus increases with a lower encumbrance up to 25% at 0 weight. So the less encumbrance we have, the more melee damage we're dealing. So I'm not at 0 at 14, because I do want to maybe be able to take a hit without dying right away. So we aren't getting the full 25%, but we are getting quite a bit. And that's right there. That's how you do a lightweight melee build, just like that. After that, it's kind of whatever you want it to be. So for me, specifically right now, I'm doing a Dervish focus setup. What does that mean? So our mutator is Dervish. We have it at rank 10, so our melee damage is increased by 40% for 10 seconds whenever we activate a skill. So we activate a skill, melee damage does more damage. And then at level 10, whenever we get a melee kill, it reduces our skill cooldowns by 5% and can trigger once every 5 seconds. So what's going to happen is we activate a skill, increasing our melee damage, kill enemies, and then reduce the cooldowns on our skills so that we can use the skills more and then enhance our melee damage even more. And then as far as a melee weapon you want to use, like, it's whatever weapon you want to do, man. Like, I've used a whole bunch. I think for the Dervish one, you can make an argument for a lighter weapon, a light fast weapon versus a heavy weapon. You know, the light weapons are going to get more attacks out. It's easier to do some attacks and then dodge, whereas your heavier weapons, whether it's like a greatsword or hammer, they've got a longer recovery time. So if you have to dodge after making a swing, you got to be careful, especially because we're light. Like, our armor and damage reduction is really low. So if you have a lot of recovery after each of your melee attacks, you can find yourself easily getting caught by enemies and then taking a lot of damage. But I have run some of the big weapons. It is a huge damage boost. You can see those numbers skyrocket really high. So I think whatever you want to use is going to work, but I would strongly recommend that you change your melee weapon to fit the situation. So right now, I'm using the Edge of the Forest. It's a katana. I just like it. It's fun. It's got cool style. But if I'm dealing with a lot of ranged guys or something, and I still want to stick to melee, I'll go with a Spectral Blade. You could obviously go with like World's Edge if you have that. It's just going to be superior to 90% of the other weapons. Spectral Blade, kind of the same thing. It just does so much AoE damage, so much kind of range damage. It makes it very superior to most of the other weapons. And kind of the same thing with the Stonebreaker. Each of its charge attacks shoot off a ground shockwave. Really good. It's just extra damage on your guy. Catches people in a line. It's just really good, you know. I have a whole other rant about that. We're going to ignore it for now. But make sure you change what weapon you're using for your situation. So if I'm dealing with a lot of ranged guys or a ranged boss, I'll go with a Krell Axe maybe and focus on using that to deal damage to them. But if I'm kind of running around and I'm okay just getting standard melee hits on guys, I'll probably be using the Edge of the Forest, but swap it around. Use what you got. Now, anytime you do a melee build, you still have to think about your ranged weapons because, unfortunately, you can't ignore them. Yeah, you have to be able to do ranged damage. The mods are on your ranged weapons, they're not on your melee weapons, so you got to think about what you're using. I'm using the crossbow just because I felt like it, but the Song of Aether is the main thing I'm really like looking at. So it shoots off a shot, binding powers of the Song of Aether, staggering most of our ground enemies, and then it deals a bunch of damage to flying enemies. And then it'll keep lasting for another 15 seconds, slowing down enemies, and then more damage dealt to them. This thing has been a lifesaver. Like, dealing with a bunch of flying guys, like when I was doing stuff in Narud, and just being able to pop this out, deal a bunch of damage to guys flying in the air, and then also to slow them down, because slow is so strong, especially when you're like kind of squishy like we are right here. It makes it very safe. It allows you to really maneuver around and deal with the enemies. So I really like this one, but you could totally swap it to something else that just kind of floats your boat a little bit better. And then I'm using the double barrel because I like the double barrel. It's got Astral Burst because I'm doing a lot of Yesha stuff, and so I've just got double shotgun blast on my shotgun, followed by double Astral mod power shotgun abilities too. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Now for the rest of our like trinkets here on the side, right? We got the Flyweight Sting, increasing our melee damage. I'm running the Matriarch's Insignia for my amulet. So it increases our melee damage by 35%, and then whenever we get a successful melee attack, restore stamina. So it really does help us to keep like pressing the attack, whether we're dodging, charge attacks, whatever it happens to be. Plus it's just another 35% more damage on melee attacks. It's a lot. It's a lot of extra damage, right? And because we're doing this Dervish setup where we're using skills with our melee abilities and stuff, I'm using the Sapphire Dreamstone, so critical hits will reduce our skill cooldowns by 3%. Can only happen once every 2 seconds. This really does help us out when we're trying to make sure we're like using skills frequently in order to trigger our mutator on the melee weapon. So I would strongly recommend this if you're doing a Dervish build. Then I'm running the Dying Ember, gives us another 5% lifesteal with our melee damage because it was adding it up with our Siphoner trait. It turns into a lot of lifesteal and can really help us to top off. Bad thing is we're very squishy, so if we take too much damage, we're just going to die outright. So if we take little chips damage, it's kind of okay and we can be sort of safe. Then I'm taking the Fey Bruiser Ring, so when we deal melee damage, it gives us 2 stacks of bulwarks. It's just nice. It's an extra little bit of defense. We're pretty much only doing melee damage. We're obviously going to weave in some ranged as well, but we're doing a lot of melee. So getting extra stacks of bulwark with this is great. It's going to stack with some of our other sources as well to just try and get us some damage reduction and keep us from getting one shot. Past that, we've got our relic. So I'm using the Lifeless Heart just because it has the double capacity. So it allows us to get a lot of extra bonuses from our archetypes whenever we use relics. And then for the runes, I've got melee crit chance, melee crit damage, melee damage. All melee stuff. I'm ignoring all the defensive aspects. I'm going pretty hard into just melee damage. And then for our archetypes, we're using skills. We want to use skills that'll activate the Dervish ability and for extra melee damage. So we're going to use something that recharges quickly, has multiple charges. We're using Invader because it has the Wormhole skill. So that'll teleport us forward, make our next attack stronger, and then we're in the melee, and our melees are just stronger now. So then we get in there, hit some guys pretty hard with our melee attacks, get it to start recharging quickly. It comes with 2 charges, so then it'll allow us to navigate around. It leaves little clones as well because we have the Invader as our primary archetype. So whenever we do an Invader skill, leaves a decoy to draw enemy attention, which is great because we're squishy, so we don't want that. And then I'm running Challenger as my secondary because we're staying in close for a lot of the time. So getting even more damage bonus is great. Plus it's got some things that can give us some damage reduction, reduce enemy damage. The Juggernaut skill is great for melee things and movement speed, things like that. So that's kind of why I'm running that. And as for our traits, we've got the 10 points in Untouchable because of our Invader thing. 10 points in Strongback, which is great too because it also reduces our encumbrance, which is nice as well. I went ahead and I put 10 points into Fortify, giving us a little bit more damage reduction. It added something like 8% more damage reduction. If you just want to completely play it like Untouchable, drop those points, put it into something else. Swiftness so that we can really maneuver around our enemies getting close. Vigor to just try and keep us alive a little bit more. But again, Same thing with Fortify if you're just trying to avoid all damage at all times, if at all possible. Get rid of it, put it into something else. Expertise, so that our skill cooldowns are faster because we want to use our skills more often. 10 points in the Siphoner because we're getting another 3% base damage as lifesteal. Dealing a lot of melee damage that stacks pretty nicely with the Dying Ember. And then if we really wanted, there's an amulet that does, where's it at? Gives us more melee damage lifesteal and then melee damage when our HP is full. So you could try and stack that up if you really wanted. I put 1 point in endurance, putting us at 5, just more endurance. 5 points into recovery so that we have a little bit more stamina recovery. 5 points into fitness so we have a little bit better evade distance. But you don't want to go... I didn't want to put too many points into it because I wanted to make sure when I evade backwards, especially doing a neutral dodge, I could still hit the enemy with my neutral dodge attack. So, you know, depending on what you're doing, maybe you want more points, maybe you want less, whatever. These were some leftover points. Put them into Bark Skin, give us a couple more, you know, points in damage reduction, but you could probably swap it to something else. And then we got a natural point into Spirit. That's pretty much the setup. I'm going to show you a little bit of kind of like some of the damage and the cool stuff you can do with like the Dervish setup and whatnot. But, I mean, frankly, you're probably going to see me die a lot because on Apocalypse, having light armor and such little damage reduction is pretty brutal. It's pretty dangerous. Yeah, it just is. Alright, we're going to ignore this thing because it sucks. And we're going to go look for another dungeon. Because I know there's one around here somewhere. We're going to see if we can't find it. Hey, friend. So we teleport in behind him like that. And then chunk. 1400 damage. It was a critical hit, so it worked out nicely. And see, just like that. Like, you don't want to ignore your... Ow, see, he still targeted us. And that's pretty annoying. Luckily, we didn't die in one hit. So that's good. But, you can see our skill cooldown is pretty quick, right? We're already almost fully... And just like that, it's back. Use the teleport to avoid them. And then move into the next guy. There's somebody else around here too, I think. This build is weird, right? Because with the light armor, you kind of want to be careful. Because you don't want to get one shot and just die all the time or right away. So, you want to play carefully. But... with the setup like we're doing right here, it kind of behooves you to be really aggressive. And it feels like you want to be really aggressive, just the way it is. And we do so much damage that, like, it just naturally wants to flow that way. But you have to be careful, because you're so squishy that you can find yourself getting absolutely just wrecked if you're not doing it the right way. So there's a very fine, like, knife's edge of, like, how you want to do the build. Between being very, like, slow, cautious, and just careful versus aggressive and, like, damagey. There they are. So let's go ahead and pop a Juggernaut right here, right? Took a lot of damage here, but you can see, look how quickly our health starts, like, coming back with that lifesteal. Like, it's actually, like, solid amounts. I do really enjoy the, how much we get back with our lifesteal. And the katana is just really fun on this setup too. Like, it feels like it just naturally plays in well with this, like, idea of the Dervish. Oh, he's shooting a thing off right there. Let's pop a relic here. That's going to give us stacks of bulwark. It's going to allow us to leave a clone behind, which should distract this dude. But we got to watch out for his big circly attacks, because we can totally get messed up by that. Let's dodge to the other side. Dodge backwards, because he does a big sweep. Back in we go. Dodge. Here we go. Now what we would totally do here is drop the Song of Aether. That's going to slow him down and allow us to just really go ham. Like, you can't forget to use your mods. Like, I would totally do that, where I get, like, really focused in on just focusing with, like, melee damage and dodging. And then completely ignore whatever I have going on with my, my other weapons and stuff. But if you find yourself surrounded by a lot of guys, drop the Song of Aether. That thing is going to allow you to hold down a zone, slow down a ton of enemies, make them take more damage, and just allow you to play safely. And you can do it with other things too, like whether it's like Earthquake, using tentacles or something else to just draw more aggro off of you. Just anything to keep you alive, man. And as I've been as I've been messing with it more, it really makes me like miss some of the mods and stuff from Remnant from the Ashes, because in Remnant from the Ashes there were a number of abilities that were like you have here, like the healing puddle with a medic. That was a mod in From the Ashes, so you would just put that on your gun, hit the button. You didn't have to like activate it and then aim your gun and stuff. Like there's so many like mods in this game that require you to activate them and then aim with the gun and then shoot them. It's just so clunky, it makes it very difficult to do it in the melee, where in From the Ashes you would just click, hit the button, and bam, there it was, like mod activated, healing puddle on the ground, good to go. And there were some that were specifically built around melee stuff. Increase your armor, deal thorns damage back to the enemy. Like a bunch of really cool ones. So as I've been doing more of the melee builds, it really makes me miss a bunch of the things that were in the first game. But let's go ahead and activate a relic here. We've got 20 uses, so we want to make sure we actually make use of it, right? Like there's no need to kind of like not use it, because we have so many chargers, we're not going to run out. We're not relying on it for healing, it's just for these buffs, you know? And you can see, like, our melee damage is just fine, right? We're doing plenty of damage. We're dropping guys fairly easily. And those guys right there, I didn't even have my Dervish bonus activated. So, like, we could have even been doing even more damage. Teleport to the other side to try and avoid them, as well as draw their aggro with a clone. Drop him and move away. That extra evade distance really helps to get us out of those things. So even though we only have 5 points into evade, having that extra distance when we roll away can really make the difference between us taking damage or not. So that's an elite dude. We're going to try and jump on him, but I'm going to activate Juggernaut first, followed by the teleport in. And then we're just going to go in really hard on him, just like this, and he's gone, just like that. Roll back to avoid that. We're going to teleport over here, slice, 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 go back in here, drop them. There's still some more over here. Let's go ahead and chop, chop. We should be able to get some more cooldowns here in just a second. Look how quickly it does come back. Chop, chop, just like that. And we've got one charge back already, and you can see how quickly your skills are coming back. And if you really wanted to, you could absolutely put on like a different ring that's going to help you even more with your skill cooldowns and stuff. We need to get back away from there. Hit them with that to just slow him down. Drop his leg. Blast, blast, shotgun, shotgun. And something you could kind of consider doing as well is actually put some points into like Arcane Strike. We're doing a lot of melee damage, and being able to have our mods recharge quickly with all our melee attacks would be really strong. Bang. Ooh, we're still pretty low, but luckily we dropped a clone up there, and now he's like going for the wrong dude. We just deal some extra damage there, and we're okay. Don't be afraid to use your ranged weapons. Anytime you're doing a melee build, don't forget, like, you can use those things. They're part of your build. I've definitely done some like really cool looking things as well, where like I do a couple melee attacks followed by a neutral dodge back into like a shot from my crossbow in the face, and it's just really satisfying to do that at times. Let's go ahead and activate one of these now, and then we need to roll. It leaves a clone, which is great. Slice, slice, slice. Moving over. We need to dodge through here. Oh, I hit the wall somehow. Moving away because that dude's going to explode. Oh. Oh, come on. There we go. Oop. Yeah, that's pretty much the build, though. I would show you a boss fight, but I don't think I really have any set up right now. I guess I could do it. I'm a little low on time right now. I wanted to get this set up, but, yeah. I'll get somewhere. I'll get somewhere to show you a boss fight. All right, well, maybe instead of a boss, I'll just do this encounter. We'll see how it goes. I'm kind of curious because there's a lot of guys. So, right, here's what you should do. A lot of dudes. Cater your weapon to the scenario you're in. So what I could do is, instead of running this, which might work just fine, maybe I'd put on the Stonebreaker, because it shoots off ground-based shockwaves, and it's going to deal with all of those like pesky dudes that are going to be coming out of the woodwork. And it still fits with the Yesha theme, you know? And it's going to do a lot more damage because it has a huge base number value to it, so getting a 40% more on it's going to be great. I should say as well, I do swap my mutator whenever I'm fighting like a standard like kind of boss. I will oftentimes put in reinvigorate, reducing stamina cost of my melee attacks, or reducing the charged melee attacks cost by 50%, and then make them stronger as well. But, you know, depending on the situation, like if I had this one upgraded, increasing my neutral evade attacks would be pretty sweet. Misfortune's really fun. Applying slow to the enemy and stuff, or other status effects if you've got those going on, is just great. Let's see. I've not messed with Resentment. Shield Breaker is great. Steadfast is not what I'm going to use for this, because this is all about tanking hits. But because we have so little damage reduction, this could be something that you like consider doing. Let's see. Vengeful Strike. I've tried messing with a like Death Embrace build with Vengeful Strike and melee. It's just really dangerous because, again, you're at 50% HP, but maybe I'll do one. So we'll do it. I'll do it on a different one. But yeah, we're still going to be using Dervish. Let's put it on our Stonebreaker and then make it happen. And actually, the Invader should be pretty solid here. Being able to teleport past guys will be pretty solid. Let's go ahead and activate our Juggernaut now, though. Boom, big chunk. Watch them go. Using this to break that. Charge attack to drop them. There we go. Luckily, the Juggernaut gives us an increased like stagger level, so that we can actually trade with enemies, because at times we're going to get interrupted out of our charged attacks, and that's really annoying. So being able to rely on the Juggernaut to push us through that is great. Let's activate a relic here now. That's also going to give us a damage boost, followed by those extra stacks of bulwark to make sure we're not getting like completely one shot, right? Reload this, bang. Let's go ahead and go through him, pop, charge attack back to clear our back road. But the thing is, we need to be moving quickly, because here in a little bit, if we're not moving fast enough, what's going to happen is we're going to get caught up in the lightning stuff, and that's going to kill us. Chop. Move quickly now. Charge across. Bam. Let's activate another one. Chop. Chop. Extra critical hits, helping us with our cooldowns. We've almost got another charge in our wormhole, which is going to help us to keep moving through and avoiding this lightning. I do not need to be fighting these guys. So move, move, move. Let's go ahead and make sure everything's reloaded. We still have a charge onto our... oh, that is not the way I wanted to go. Crap. We still have our Song of Aether charged up, so if we really start getting swarmed, we can drop that, and that's going to slow some dudes down for us. And our Juggernaut is already ready too, so we can actually pop that again, reduce the damage that enemies are dealing, at least the ones that were close to us, and then allow us to get a lot of extra melee damage, movement speed, and just stay in the fight. We'll get here in the center. We're going to break open the roots so that we can actually like progress down to the next level. And there is another item you can get here. I don't know if I can see it from here. I kind of forget where it's at exactly. But there's an item you can see that is dangling from a hole. You want to make sure that you shoot it, and then it'll drop down. Oh. And you'll be able to get that right. Yeah, there it is right there. See? So we shoot that, it drops. And then we're going to be able to pick it up here in this next section. That's a lot of dudes. Dodge backwards. Here's a big slam with a shockwave. Roll backwards again. Now, one of the bad things I found was this kind of like Dervish setup is that, like with a wormhole one, it makes us move. And sometimes, like, I do not want to teleport into that because those guys explode and it sucks. So instead, what is sometimes is nice to use is like Shockwave with the Challenger, because that's another quick, easy, like, ability you can use that recharges quickly, multiple charges, and you can just refill it more often. And then you can really get the benefit off of Dervish by having a quick recharging ability, etc., etc. So we're going to run across this route, and we're going to go find that item. But you got to be careful. That ground is still all sparky. You're going to die if you touch it. Let's move forward. No, maybe not. Oh, he's not dead, so that's a good sign. Chop. And then we go over this way. Should be around the corner, I think. There it is. And so just like I was mentioning earlier about, you know, kind of like a Death Embrace build, the item that right there is actually something that affects based on our missing health. So you could totally use that for attack speed, fire rate, things like that. I haven't actually really messed with it, so is it worth it? Probably, maybe, I don't know. Big stagger, lots of damage. I don't know that the shockwave is actually affected by the, oh shit, we need to move fast. I don't know if the shockwave is actually affected by our Dervish bonus or not. I don't necessarily think so. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Let's teleport in. Chop, chop. Lots of extra damage. I mean, look how much damage you can... Shit. Oops. But you can see, like, with that great sword, the damage bonus, like, just regular swings, no critical hits or anything, we're doing, you know, over 1,000 damage. And on other, like, attempts at things that I've messed with where I've really maximized melee damage, crit chance and stuff, I was critting Tall Rotha for, like, 3,000 to 4,000 damage. Like, no weak spot, just straight melee damage, critical hits. And, I mean, you could just see it chunking his health. I kind of wish I'd recorded it, but I just was kind of in a different headspace at the time, so... Yeah, but you can do a lot of damage with some of the setups. Well, let's go ahead and get us through here. There's no reason for me to, like, have to try and suffer through all this again. I should have done better. Ooh, that's a big dude. Okay, let's see how this goes. Let's go and activate this now. That is a huge lineup of dudes. Let's just power through. Oh, we chunked him down, like, super quick. Wow, that was a lot of damage. Power through these guys. We've got the extra stagger reduction from Juggernaut, plus extra damage with Dervish and the Juggernaut, which actually I think the Dervish thing had worn off at that point. I kind of wish it lasted a little bit longer, because that 10 seconds on Dervish can go by really quickly. So... if you're not, like, on top of actually, like, using it, you can suddenly, like, find that it's gone and you're not actually getting any benefit. Though you could definitely, you're still getting the benefit of, like, having the cooldown reduction and stuff. As long as you're getting melee kills. Drop that thing. Go ahead and drop some of these, right? Because we want those to go away. That way it can actually, like, drop. Go ahead and hit that. Chunk. Chunk. One more. There we go. Alright, easy day. Let's go ahead and teleport in. And then, chop. Yeah, lots of damage. I like it. Teleport in again. Walk. Big charge attack. Big chunk. The cool thing is, too, with a steadfast... Not steadfast, sorry. With a Matriarch's Insignia, and then, like, melee weapons like the Stonebreaker and stuff that also shoot off projectiles when you do attacks... you can kind of double up on the stamina recovery, so you get stamina when the blade hits it, you get stamina when the other ability hits them too, because that also counts as a melee attack, which is why I'm kind of thinking it gets the benefit of Dervish as well, because it also seems to be affected by you getting stamina back. Same thing with, like, the Spectral Blade. Hitting the enemies with the charged effect of the Spectral Blade, that gives you stamina back. It inflicts bleeding on enemies. So I'm pretty sure it does get the bonus of the Dervish. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the build. One thing to kind of keep in mind. There's a few things to keep in mind with it, right? You can deal a lot of damage. You can do a lot of melee damage with this setup, especially if you drop all your armor so that you're doing the maximum amount. And if at that point, if that's what you're doing, you could get rid of the lifesteal, because if you're getting hit and you're not wearing any armor, you're probably going to go down. So then you could go leaning really hard into, like, the Fey Warrior Ring, dealing in even more melee damage. You know, if you don't want to go into the whole, like, Dervish route, you could go into, like, the reinvigorate mutator, so that your charge melee attacks are stronger and stuff. And so you could just do that and spam charge melee attacks, and then, like, get rid of the Sapphire Dreamstone, put something else in there to just, like, keep maximizing your damage. You could also then get rid of this one, because you don't need Bulwark if you're just trying to not get hit. Maybe go with the Akari Warband, because it's going to increase your critical hit chance, critical damage. All kinds of options. Lean into the Berserker's Crest to keep doing, like, more melee charge attacks and stuff. A lot of things you can do with it. A lot of things. I even did a like a bleed focused one where I was using the Assassin's Blade. I tried running the Nightshade, because that's got even more. It's got 18% crit chance, which is a lot. You can get a lot of lifesteal. That one worked. I just hate fist weapons, so I didn't really like that. Feral Judgment also works. Again, fist weapons, not a fan. So yeah, you can totally customize it to whatever kind of melee playstyle that you would like to do, as long as you're doing a lightweight one. But you should keep in mind that, like, you got to play carefully. You get hit, you're in a lot of trouble, so you have to be smart. Got to play smart. Can't really make a lot of mistakes. And then the other part of it is, too, I mean, you could easily just go for, like, World's Edge, Spectral Blade. Like, those are just super strong weapons to, like, cover any situation that you're in, whether it's flyers, regular stand on the ground melee enemies, shooters, whatever it happens to be. Yeah, but that's it. That's the build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Always appreciate it when y'all check it out. And as always, take care.